now I've seen the movie, and it
Well, that's
fucking
good.
it is fucking hilarious. Honestly, I loved every second of it. I'm not gonna lie, it's like one of my favorite movies of the year. You guys absolutely crushed it. I need to use Buffalo Wingding font for everything. That
Well,
needs.
look, as a CBR guy, you might appreciate this. When I originally wrote it, the font was bat wingdings and it was
Mm,
going to be all Batman symbols, but
mm,
clearly you can't do that.
right.
And so I was just like, I was like, I don't know what else has wings. So I was like, Buffalo.
It's perfect, and I'm from Buffalo, so anyway,
Oh,
so even more so, even more so. First off, did you guys get some good sponsorship dough from Pornhub for this, or what?
I'll let Isaiah take this one.
Doe, no, they gave us a lot of. I mean, I felt like it was very like TLC in the early '90s, but they just like mostly gave us stuff and not money. Those we were happy to have them. Like we literally wrote, Yassir wrote the joke in of that sponsorship, and we were making something for Walt to wear to one of his tournaments, and we wanted permission to use their logo, and we had in a certain kind of font, and they were like, "You have to use our logo. You have to use our font." We were like, "Oh wow!" Like we thought it was going to be like a lot of red tape after that, but they're like, "But you can use it, and who wants some stuff? You want a jacket? I have a Pornhub yoga mat. I have a Pornhub water bottle." And yeah, like they were just willing. I will say though it wasn't like funds, they were willing to do everything and still have. They've been promoting the movie
Yeah,
like solid group of guys over there at Pornhub.
yeah,
Solid.
yeah, yeah. That's always nice to hear to like because you sometimes you hear never meet your heroes, and
Yeah.
it's reassuring. It's heartwarming to
Yeah.
hear.
Well, with the Pornhub guys, it's like never meet your heroes, and it's like we met them and they're awesome, but it's like
That.
definitely don't shake their hand because
Yeah.
Don't
you
even
know
fist bump. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
don't even honestly don't even look at the hand.
What are the origins of this one? Like, is there anything like autobiographical in here? Like, what sparked this?
Yeah, I mean, weirdly enough, so like me and Isaiah, our other friend Reza, we used to just like alternate between cheap bowling nights. There was an alley by us. Me and Reza lived on a different side of town than Isaiah at the time, but like there's just like these cheap bowling alleys where you'd go and it's $5 and bowl all night. And so like for three dudes who are in their like late 20s just have no money, you're like, those is a great way to like just have something to do. But what the truth is that like it's also a very cheap thing to like take kids to, and you're like, great. And then it's also another cheap thing for like, which is the original inception of the story, is that like there would be just like hella gang members there. And so like we would be bowling, and like the joke I say is that like we'd be bowling and you'd hear someone talking about literally like a murder or a drug deal beside you. And then Isaiah's joke is on the other side. There's like a child celebrating their birthday. And you're like, this is crazy that we're all here at the exact same
Yeah.
time. Like, this is like a weird microcosm. And so, like, the original joke was supposed to be that the movie was going to be about like this Crip who becomes like the biggest guy in bowling. And then we're like, I don't know if it's super funny that like an active gang member becomes a bowling superstar. So then, even in name, we just I based the script off our cousin Walter, who like is him, by the way, is like 30s, loves anime, for sure loves Pornhub, is a freak of nature athlete in a way
Yes.
that like is shocking. Like I mean, he's like truly one of the people that I wish we like maybe someday we will just do a documentary on him, but like just naturally you can be like in the middle of like a target that was just mopped and the floors are like you know super slippery and you're like, do a backflip right now, and he's like, you got it, and we'll land perfectly and be like, okay, what next? And you're like, how,
Yeah.
so there's actually weirdly a lot of autobiographical stuff in there.
Yeah.
And on top of like the Vicky character is very much based on our mom as well, like her love for
Right.
like Bridgerton and denim and rhinestone, selling our beds. So there is a lot drawn from our actual family experience in the
Yeah.
movie.
And I love that there's a real Walter because it also like if you watch this, you would just think that's like a nice little nod to Big Lebowski. Uh, Kingpin, Big Lebowski. Like there's why is there so much comedy to be mined in bowling?
And like I'll say this because like we kind of came up with like the tagline for the poster that we've been using too is that like it's like America's 15th favorite pastime because when I started writing it for real, I was like, is there like something that I'm missing? Right. So I like this is so it sounds so pretentious, but I like really researched bowling. Like it was invented by like the ancient Egyptians. It's like literally one of the oldest sports in the history of mankind. It
Yeah.
was the biggest sport in the US until the 70s. The first $1 million endorsement for an athlete was in bowling. Like, I
Mm.
mean, like it's truly this massive thing. And one day, I think, I mean, really what happened is that they started televising the NFL and people were like,
Yeah,
whoa, this is
football. That's what
cool.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
um, but I think that there's two things about bowling that makes it like quote unquote comedic. Because I think there is when I first started telling people about the script, and it was like it's about this like black dude who gets good at bowling, and people would like somberly be like, "That's incredible, wow!" And I'm like, "No, it's not like a feel good story.
yeah.
It's
It's not.
like,
Yeah, it's not the blind
yeah,
side.
yeah." I think the biggest thing, particularly with bowling, is that like the thing that makes it funny is that literally anybody can be good at it. And
Mhm.
so like it's you don't have to be a LeBron James, you don't have to be a Brock Purdy, you don't have to be an Aja Wilson. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
all of those are physical specimens where you're like, there's too much happening. But like with
Yeah.
bowling, like literally, if any of us just went bowling for 3 weeks, we could probably all be pros. You know what I mean? And so it just adds a layer of like, oh, this must be kind of dumb. Like if I can get good.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I also think there's something to be said about like a niche world and like the hierarchy of a very small world.
Right.
And it's the kind of world where people it's like I collect sports cards and there are people in that world who think they're more important than Susan Sarandon
Yep.
because
Yep.
they're just in such an insular space.
Yep.
And I think that's what makes it an interesting thing is because everybody kind of has something like that where like I'm in this weird niche hobby or like I'm in the PTA soccer league
Right.
or I play poker every weekend and where you think that like because you've done well in that you're doing well in the world and
Yep.
it's just not the truth.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it reminds me of like when I worked at Walgreens in high school, and like our manager just thought they were the most important person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They were the manager of that bitch, you know. And no, yeah, and that's why like Christopher Guest movies are so brilliant too, right? Because
Yes.
he takes those
Oh,
niches
absolutely. Yeah.
100%. I mean, I feel like this movie is destined to become a cult classic, and but like when I think about like the its path to distribution, like I like to know because I feel like if you guys wrote this movie like 15 or 20 years ago, it would be like New Line Cinema, it'd be on like a million screens this weekend. Like, how difficult is it to produce and distribute a comedy these days?
I mean, I'll speak to my part of the experience and then I'll let Isaiah. But I'll say this, and this is me in full disclosure. Like
Mhm.
I wrote so I originally wrote this and like made a sizzle reel for it in like 2017. It's initially conceived of it as a TV show, and I was like, oh, this would be like a good pilot, and then blah blah blah. And I like filmed this thing. Everyone who is like a quote unquote Hollywood insider person was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, this will never work, like try again. And I was like, damn. And so like the dude who plays Brother Candy Rel Battle in the film originally played the role of Walt, and my wife Chelsea Devontes played the role of Skunk in this like sizzle. And so end of 2019, it's like around Christmas time, I was just like kind of thinking about like I want to like write something else or whatever. And my wife Chelsea was like, you should really go back to the bowling idea. She was like, I know no one else liked it, but it really was funny. Like, think of it in a different way. And I was like, oh, maybe it's a movie. And I wrote the whole thing in 2 weeks. Then the world shut down. Our good friend Jared Hess, who we had worked with before on Making History, we keep in contact with him. And I was like, hey, like, you wrote and directed Napoleon Dynamite, which is one of the greatest comedies of all time. Like, will you just look at this and just tell me, like, if it's even worth passing around as a sample? Because that's really, I just wrote it as a joke essentially. And he was like, absolutely. Through him, clearly, he like set us up with our producer Liz, who then set us up with the studio Village Roadshow. So the first half of it, though it took 2.5, or it actually really took 5 years from 2017 to 2022 is like the window of from the idea to then. The hard part, I would say, and I think Isaiah would agree, is the second half. Like once we were done filming is kind of when it went crazy. But there, how do you feel?
Um, I think that like to the heart of the question, like I and what Yassir said at the beginning, it's like we Yassir wrote this movie and we had intent to make this movie. We really like I don't know, we didn't never really had to discuss it, but we knew that we were both the type of people to go like full blown with our comedy and try to assert ourselves comedically as much as possible in a thing.
Mhm.
And I think people were really taken back by that because, you know, I mean, and I love this show, and I'm not disparaging it, but I just don't think it's a comedy. But like, we live in the Bear times, where like the Bear is a comedy,
Mhm.
and so I don't see it as that. I see it as a drama with some jokes
Right.
sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
and so when they don't see the Bear or they don't see you know, something of the same ilk, and they're like, wait, this has jokes in it. It was weird how freaked out they were about actually being funny. And it's not even like a thing with like, because, you know, the thing about the gutter that we love so much about it is like, we feel like it's stupid humor for everyone. Like, we're not attacking anybody, we're not going after people in a weird way or, you know, making some sort of weird stance. It's just trying to make people laugh. And
Mhm.
I think people were so freaked out about the possibility it could be one of those things that trigger somebody for some reason that they stayed away from it for a very long time. So,
Mhm.
like, as much as that second half was difficult, and as much as that, like, we did have, you know, after it was in the can, we did have to have like hard discussions about what the movie was again with who we were working with. Ultimately, they did towards the end of the product lean into what me and Yassir were saying a little bit more, because otherwise the movie doesn't work. Like if you try to cut around it or try to make it less funny, it's not going to be good at all.
Yeah.
So you had to really have people see the vision, and through the like Yassir was saying, through the production process, we definitely had that like energy on set. We had it in pre-production. Everybody really went for it, but like, you know, when you're editing a movie, it's like making the movie over again. And we had to just reestablish what kind of movie it was again, you know? Um, so yeah, it was, I mean, sorry, long answer, but it was hard.
Yeah. I love hearing the insights. I do. I do. It was a journey, but man, well done. Well done. You guys got there. It's fucking brilliant. I loved it. I hope everybody sees it. And I'll do my part to tell them. But great to talk to you guys again. I really appreciate your time.
Wait, is that is that Stevie Wonder's Linus behind you?
It is. Yeah, it's Stevie.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. Stevie
That's
and
pretty great. Yeah.
it was funny. I was doing the junket for the piano lesson the other day, and they were like, and somebody was at, I think it was John David and Danielle Dead were like, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I realize that's really thematic right now. I swear I didn't put that up for this interview. uh,
That's
but yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys again. Like, I really, really appreciate it.
oh, thank
Thank
no,
you,
thank
man.
you.
Good to see you.